Hi everyone, it's Formula 1 season, and so I have the 12 collectible Formula 1 cars, which are often mistakenly referred to as minifigures, but these are collectible cars instead of minifigures. I know that I have all 12 and there's no duplicates here because I scanned the QR codes in advance, but then I scrambled them so I don't know which one is which. So now I'm going to open them up one by one, and we'll take a look at the cars. So I picked up this one, so might as well open it, and let's see what's inside. I'm opening this for the first time ever. I have not watched any reviews of these sets, so I only have a vague idea of what they contain, namely the pictures there, and I've seen some pictures on the website as well, but I did not go into depth on what to expect. And as usual, I will be building everything without the instructions, although I do know that all of the builds are identical. So I'm probably just going to build one of them on camera. So in this particular box, we get these pieces right here, and here's a better look at the pieces of this particular set. These are the official pieces, and these are the extras. Plus we do get the instructions that I will not be using. All the other sets are going to have these pieces, but in different colors. So I'm not going to go through them individually, but you can check on Bricklink to see which piece comes in which set. I believe that this is a new recolor, this I believe is a new mold, and this I also believe is a new mold for this series, but double check that on Bricklink. Now I'll do the build without the instructions following this template right here. The colors are different, but I got the main idea. And we're done with the build. I will reserve my comments until I've built all of them, so let me do just that. And because it's exactly the same build, I will do the rest off camera, just because all this recording takes a lot of storage space and processing power. And here they are, all built in the same order that is shown on the sheet that is provided with each set. It's the same sheet provided for each one, that shows the cars on one side and the instructions on the other side. And I'm happy that they did at least 3 instructions for this, so they could have made it like one by one each step and it would be very tiny, or just make a larger sheet. So I think this is perfectly sufficient, and with this it is obvious how to build each car. So let's take a look at them one by one, starting with the Red Bull, or RB as it's known, because legally LEGO cannot call this Red Bull for kids, because in some countries energy drinks are only for adults. You see here the general shaping of the car is there, and they're all identical in terms of the shaping. We have this minifigure head and helmet that's very oversized compared to what a real human would look like. This is a little bit cartoonish, but it's okay. This is a product intended for kids, and yeah, not much to see on the bottom at the very least, but the rest of it looks okay. Maybe the spoiler is a little bit too short. I would have liked it to be a little bit wider, but not a very big deal in the grand scheme of things. And yeah, this does not cover the head at all. It's very oversimplified, but this is the smallest possible Formula 1 car that they can make at this scale and with a limited budget, so I guess it's fine. In terms of the printing quality, notice that this yellow here on the wheels and this yellow here and this yellow on this piece, they're not the same. This yellow is a bit faint, so it needs to be better printed here in my opinion, and the same issue would apply here, although to a lesser extent, and the same would apply to many of these other vehicles. So let's just take a look at them one by one. The Mercedes has some really nice metallic printing right here, although unfortunately there is a scratch. Not a very big deal. We see the same metallic stuff here on the helmet. I do like the teal color. It makes a lot of sense to me. So this one is one of my favorites. So that's pretty cool. Next up we have the Ferrari, very well-known brand, and this printed piece right here is going to be useful in all sorts of situations, maybe with speed champions or otherwise. This is also a very nice printed piece with the Ferrari logo. Not all of them get printed pieces with the logo, but this one does, so that's pretty cool. The helmet is unbranded though, it's just regular red and white, but that's okay. So this one is also very nice. Next up we have McLaren, again printed with the appropriate brand right here, and the printing here, the orange, could be improved to make it look more like the orange pieces. And again, the McLaren logo right here, although a lot of people might not recognize that out of context. Aston Martin, and I do like the green and yellow combination here, and a lot of people who are not very familiar with Formula 1 might confuse the Aston Martin with the Sauber set, and the way to tell the difference is that, well, Aston Martin has Aston Martin written on it, and it has the yellow trim, versus the green and black for Kick Sauber. Next up we have the Alpine, again, it's written right here, and this is the only one where the color of the wheels at the front and the rear are not the same. So that's a pretty interesting design choice. I guess it's to follow the real car, and I'm happy that they did this here. And yeah, it's an interesting color scheme. I do like the helmet as well, although the printing could be a bit more opaque as well. Then we have the Williams car. I feel like I'm repeating myself here, but I'll just show you the cars from different angles. After that we have the V-Carb, and V-Carb stands for Visa, Cash App, Red Bull. So it's just a faster way to say all that because you have all these brands on the name of one car. So this is another one that should be 18 plus if you have to list the names out in full, mostly because of the Red Bull. And it's a red, white, and blue color scheme. We already looked at this one. Next up we have Haas, which is very simple with the red, white, and black. Again, the printing here could be improved to make it be more opaque. This printing though is fine. Next up we have the F1 Academy. So by the way, we're done with the main 10 teams of Formula 1, and now we have 2 more slots. So what LEGO did is they created this F1 Academy car with the purple and magenta coloring, and I do like the color scheme. I think it looks nice, although it's not my personal favorite, but I do respect the effort, and I like the fact that it's there. It gives a bit more variety to these cars. And finally we have a generic F1 car, and I do like the metallic printing here, here, and here on the side, so that is pretty deluxe, even though it's a generic car that does not fall under any specific franchise. It's still pretty nice to get, and yeah, the metallic stuff on the helmet as well. That's very, very nice to see. So overall, I'm generally happy with these cars in of themselves, but I don't like the idea that we lost a minifigure slot just to get these cars, because what I would have liked to see is maybe take some of these away, like take away these two and give us some minifigures instead. Either branded Formula 1 drivers or just generic minifigures, and here I'm just grabbing the closest two minifigures to me, which are from the previous set that I built and reviewed, the Ninjago Polybag, but you get the idea, like have actual Formula 1 minifigures here. So I think that way you can kind of say that these are collectible minifigures, but have some minifigures and 10 cars, and of course you can scan them so that you can get whichever items you like. So that would have been one possible option, or just include a torso and legs so that you can take the helmet and this head right here, attach them onto the torso and legs, and then you have a minifigure and the car. And I wouldn't have minded if they raised the price by, let's say, $1 or $2 to do that, because you get a more complete product. If you get more, I'm willing to pay more. That's just something that makes sense to me, but maybe LEGO were insistent on keeping the $5 US or $6 Canadian price tag, in which case this would have gone over budget. So that's why I was saying, if you can't do that, then give us 2 minifigures, or just create more, because there's nothing that says you have to have 12. Like they could have had 16 or 18, like they did with the Disney minifigures not that long ago, 18 in a series instead of 12. So they could have done something like that. And just to drive home that point, some of these, when I got them at the store, they're actually labeled or mislabeled as minifigurines F1. So people, retailers, they thought that these actually were going to be minifigures, and even the set number is the same set number pattern as what is used for minifigures. 71048 was minifigure series right before this one. Something here is not quite right in terms of the product placement, and I do think that either more of these should have been made, like more particular variations to include minifigures, or include minifigures with each car and bump up the price a little bit if you need to. Let's take a look at one of these. Well, they're all the same, but let's see what will this look like with a regular minifigure head instead of the generic white head. Well, first of all, here's how Aaron the Ninja looks like without the helmet. A little bit strange. Maybe you can kind of imagine that he's sitting really, really low. It's a bit of a stretch to make that call. Let's see what he looks like with the helmet on. Let's try that. I think it looks much better with the helmet, and here you can actually see this actually looks not that bad. And Aaron, he is a driver in Ninjago, so it's kind of canonical. So this is pretty accurate, I would say, and not a bad look. So that's another thing they could have done. At least give us printed faces instead of these generic white faces, and print them, let's say, on one side. So if you don't want to see the face, just rotate it backwards, and then the print would be pointing towards the rear of the helmet. And in this case, everyone's happy. So that's another thing that they could have done. Let's see, how easy is it to make a minifigure sit here? They're not going to be able to just sit here because it's not wide enough to sit a minifigure by default. And because of this thing right here, even if you remove these pieces, you will not be able to get them to sit. They could stand with one leg. That looks very strange. Maybe a bit better when they sit at the back, so that's not quite right either. You would have to add like a couple pieces here to make that work. And I'm wondering, like, since they bothered to create this whole new mold just for these cars, I'm starting to think maybe they could have customized this mold a little bit more to make this a bit lower to the ground to allow for people to put minifigures here if they wanted to. Another possibility is having the minifigure hold on to this. You could also make the minifigure stand sideways like this, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. So make of that what you will. Yeah, I do think there's a missed opportunity here. Like, they could have made these more compatible with minifigures so that you don't have to bring in your extra pieces, and then if you do, you're gonna have like some jumpers and stuff like this, and then they would be sitting up here, which is not the ideal look that you would want. So yeah, this is not super minifigure compatible. Yes, there's a minifigure head and helmet included with each set, but unfortunately no torso, no legs, and no easy way to connect a minifigure in a proper pose in these cars. You can do it with a little bit of your extra pieces, but it's not gonna look super great. So that is something that I wish LEGO thought about when designing these series. And it's something that I hope to see improved in future versions of these, if we ever get future versions of these. And I had thought that these would not sell at all, but by observing the kids at the LEGO store, a lot of kids seem to go for these and buy them, and it was actually pretty hard to find the Ferrari, the McLaren, the RB20, and the Mercedes. These ones sold out, basically, so there is a demand for at least some of these, despite my initial reservations. To recap, I'm not angry that these exist, but at the same time, I am a bit upset that we have lost the collectible minifigure or CMF slot to them. I'm talking about proper minifigures here. We could have gotten, like, let's say 2 sets at this point. We could have gotten like these plus some CMFs for the summer, like for Dreams or Ninjago or some licensed theme like Fortnite. I'm sure a lot of people would have appreciated those. Or we could have included minifigures in these series, at least, the very least 2 minifigures. That would be like the bare minimum change. Or I'm not sure what else they could have done so that we're not left with the first gap in CMFs in 15 years. Like, since 2010, LEGO's always given us at least one CMF on store shelves at all times. Now we're going for months and months without any CMF to collect, and that just does not sit well with me, even though these are quite good. Now it's time to put them to the test. We're going to have them race. And I brought this base plate right here. My initial plan was to have some kind of magnets running underneath this thing and have the cars like go around and basically race each other, but there's not enough space to do that here, and to construct a larger track and bring the magnets and all the motorization would be very cost prohibitive for this kind of video. So I thought back to an earlier video I did in the winter, and basically I just had 2 other sets just roll down a slope. So I'm going to do the exact same thing here. I'm just going to do them like pair by pair in the order shown here, and whichever one hits my hand first wins. So 3, 2, 1, go. And it was this one, that one. So this one stays, and this one goes, and we'll keep doing this until we declare a winner. Alright, so now I have these 6, and they're going to compete again 2 versus 2 to end up with 3 finalists. Alright, so now for these 3, all 3 of them are going to race one versus the other. So first of all, I'll put the McLaren to the side and race the other 2. And whichever loses is not going to be disqualified yet. So I believe this one was the winner, but we'll just record that result and move on. Now I'll do the Aston Martin versus McLaren. I think the McLaren one. It's very hard to tell for sure. And I'm doing this live. I'm not watching the recording and replaying it, so it could be the other way around, but I felt this one first. At least that's what I think I felt. Again, this is not very scientific. Now it's Mercedes versus McLaren. We know the Mercedes won in real life. Let's see who's going to win in this particular competition. And it was the Mercedes. And actually, the way I did things, the Mercedes beat the McLaren, which beat the Aston Martin, which beat the Mercedes. So essentially we have a 3-way tie. Basically each one of these beat the other in a never-ending cycle, so we have to do the whole thing all over again. So let's try again. The Mercedes versus McLaren. Again, the Mercedes won, I believe. And the Mercedes wins against the Aston Martin, which means the Mercedes is the first place winner, so it no longer needs to compete anymore. And previously, the Aston Martin had defeated the McLaren, so it turns out that this is the ranking if we go by that. So Mercedes number 1, Aston Martin number 2, McLaren number 3, everyone else lost, basically. Again, the whole thing was very unscientific, but I just did it for fun, because it's better than just saying, oh, here's a car, let's take a look at it, goodbye, have a nice day. These are toys, they're meant to be played with. See, it says right here, building toy, so why not enjoy them, make them go around in your LEGO city, customize them to work with minifigures, or just take these pieces, because these are very useful pieces, and make your own cars, and then they would be branded with McLaren or whichever other brand that you prefer. And that's one other good thing about doing these cars in the collectible format. If you want to collect the entire series like me, you can always do that. Let's say you're a Mercedes fan or a McLaren fan or a Ferrari fan, you don't need to get all 12 cars, you don't need to pay for all 12, you can just get the specific one that you want by going to the LEGO store or any other retailer that sells these and just scan the QR codes until you find what you're looking for, just like the CMFs. So in that sense, this series is a success because you can get what you want and leave what you don't want. So that's always a good thing. I'm always in favor of that. These pieces are useful. You can use them for your own custom creations, which are most likely going to be Formula 1 related, obviously. And then you can make these work with minifigures if you want, but you'll have to do a little bit of extra work to do that because unfortunately this is not offered out of the box. And I offered a lot of my thoughts on this group of sets earlier, so I'm not going to repeat myself. I will just show you the extra pieces from all the sets. I've got a colorful selection here, so this is from every single one of them, not just one particular one. And one thing I did notice is that some of these boxes did not include every single extra piece, so sometimes you are missing an extra piece, so make of that what you will. Another thing I have not mentioned up until now is attachment points. Let's say you have a LEGO surface like this. And by the way, LEGO does not sell these base plates new anymore, but I just have this from my collection lying around. This does have some anti-studs here, but does it fit on a base plate surface? Well, let's try it out. And it looks like the short answer is no. You're going to have some kind of raised surface. So you're going to need to put a plate immediately under this, and then it might hold on. So let's try that. Actually, I have a pair of round jumpers from my minifigure review station. I'll just put them here just because they're the closest things I have on hand, but I do believe they're going to get the job done. And yes, in that case, you're able to attach the car or any of these cars, because they all have the same chassis, the same basis, to the studded surface in the same way. Will this work on any studded surface? Like if there's studs all around, is that okay? I believe the answer is yes, but let's find out for sure. Yeah, it does work. And the wheels are going to be on the studs, and this gives you an idea of the dimensions of the thing, just to understand it a bit better. So that's the footprint of one of these. They're 4 wide, and they are 4, 8, basically 10. So they're 4 by 10 in terms of their overall dimensions, give or take a little bit right here. But I think it will fit in a 4 by 10 space exactly. So yeah, that is something that is interesting to see. Oh, and just before I wrap up the video, I wanted to show you my custom version of this thing that supports minifigures. This is the easiest way to do it with minimal modification. You can see what I did here. Basically, I removed that black piece that held the minifigure head and replaced it with this 1x2. And this is just a plate or a grill plate if you prefer. And then you have another 1x2 here. It could be either round or just a standard one. It doesn't matter in this particular case, as long as it fits here. And you're able to have minifigures on top of this thing, although this looks more like a go-kart, and not even a very good go-kart because the minifigure is sitting very high up. With more work and probably getting rid of this custom mold, you might be able to make this better. There might be a way to shrink this plate gap and make the minifigure sit like one plate lower, but I don't think you can do much better than that. And if you can, please let me know how you would do that in the comments down below, and let me know what you think about this series overall. Are you going to get any of these sets or all of them? Let me know in the comments, and be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already. That's it for this one, and I'll see you all very soon.